Salam, peace be upon you. My name is Muhammad Laik Siddiqui, the father of Holophase. Our Story of Change, Part 21. What is an object? Where we are. Let us take a slow breath and remember where we are. We have been building something careful. We started with a cup. The cup was whole. Then the cup was broken. Everyone saw it happen. But we refused to say, time passed, so it changed. That felt too easy, too magical, too hard for strangers to check. Instead, we built folders called state packages. Each folder holds a snapshot of something at one moment. What we looked at, how we looked, what we are allowed to claim, how uncertain we honestly are, and a trail so anyone can repeat our looking. Then we built receipts called update certificates. These receipts prove that one folder legally leads to another folder. They pass through 8 gates, like 8 checkpoints. If a receipt fails a gate, we do not accept it. We write a refusal certificate instead and put it in a special drawer called the negative archive, so we remember what did not work. Then we built an immune system. If we discover an old receipt was wrong, we revoke it, and we revoke everything that depended on it. We call this a revocation dossier. Then we built a graph. Dots are folders. Lines are receipts. The whole drawing is called graph G sub U. We said a universe is not a place. It is a connected record. Then we built order, not from clocks, from chains. We said S1 comes before S2 if you can walk from the first folder to the second folder by stepping along receipt lines. Then we built propagation limits. We said a change can only spread along paths that have legal receipts with open gates. No distance, no speed, only connectivity and permission. Then we built transformers. We said a law is not an equation on paper. A law is a registered machine that turns one folder into another. Every transformer lives in a public registry with its full declaration. Then we built composition. We said we can put transformers together in a chain, but only if the types match and all gates still pass. Then we built conservation. We said a quantity is conserved under a family of transformers if every valid receipt in that family shows it stays the same within uncertainty. Then we built interaction. We said two things interact when you cannot split the change into separate receipts for each thing. Interaction is certified non-factorization. Then we built equations. We said equations are not assumed. They are what remains after all illegal updates are refused. Equations are survival conditions. Then we built branching. We said multiple possible next steps appear when ceilings are low and uncertainty is high. The branch set is all the folders that could legally come next. Then we built probability. We said probability is not magic. It is a certified assignment rule over the branch set, based on evidence, with normalization and invariance tests. Then we built coarse graining. We said, macro is not a different universe. Macro is a declared information discard. To move from a detailed folder to a simpler one, you must use a registered interface that says what you keep and what you throw away. Then we built the arrow. We said, irreversibility appears when information is discarded. The arrow is not a cosmic clock. It is a bookkeeping consequence of declared information loss. Now we have many folders, many receipts, many transformers, many families, many patterns. And we have learned to be honest about what we know. what we do not know, what we choose to ignore, and what cannot be undone. And now we face a new question, a question so basic we rarely ask it. What is a thing? The opening scene, the chair that stays a chair. Imagine a wooden chair in your kitchen. You sit on it every day. It holds you up. It creaks a little, but it stays a chair. One day you paint it blue. It is still a chair. Another day you move it to the living room. Still a chair. Years pass. The wood ages. The color fades. But you still call it a chair. What makes it the same chair through all these changes? In ordinary life, we say it's the same object, but that is just a word. What does it really mean? In our world, we have a different answer. A thing is what remains the same across certified change. Spoken slowly. An object is a persistent equivalence class under update chains. Not a primitive entity, not a soul in the wood. Just a pattern that stays stable through many changes. The big idea here is what we discover. Objects are not given to us by the universe. They are not little pellets of matter that exist independently. Objects are stability certificates. They are patterns we notice, things that stay the same within uncertainty across many updates. If something keeps its important properties through a chain of changes, we can call it an object. But we must be able to prove it. We must show that those properties remain within uncertainty across the whole chain. If the pattern breaks, if the properties change too much, then the object is gone. It has become something else. The river example. Imagine a river. You visit it today. It is flowing fast. You visit it next month. It is flowing slow. You visit it next year. It has changed course a little. Is it the same river? People argue about this. But in our world, we do not argue. We ask, what is the equivalence class? If we define the river by its name, its location, its source, those might stay the same. The river is the same under that definition. If we define it by the exact water molecules, it is different every moment. Water flows through, no molecule stays. So the object depends on what we choose to track, what invariants we care about, what coarse graining we use. A river is a stability pattern under a certain way of looking. The important turn. Now we say something that sounds strange at first, but becomes obvious. Objects are not primitives. They are stability certificates. You do not start with objects. You start with folders and receipts. Then you notice, some things stay the same across many updates. You certify that stability. You give it a name. That name becomes an object. If the stability breaks, the object is gone. If you rename everything and the stability disappears, it was never real. Objects are earned, not assumed. The persistent rock example. Imagine a rock on a hillside. Year after year, it sits there. Rain falls, wind blows, the rock stays. You measure its position. Within a small uncertainty, it is the same. You measure its mass. Within uncertainty, the same. You measure its shape. Slightly worn, but still recognizably the same rock. That is an object. A persistent equivalence class under many updates. Now imagine the rock rolls down the hill. It cracks. Pieces scatter. Is it still the same rock? Under one definition, no. The pattern broke. The invariants, position, shape, mass as one piece, no longer hold. But under a different definition, the collection of pieces that came from that rock, it might still be the same object. The equivalence class changed. So objects depend on what we track. They are not absolute. The stability certificate. Now we build something new, the stability certificate. For something to be called an object, we must issue a certificate. It records the equivalence class identifier, what counts as the same, the stability scope, which updates does this object survive, the invariants tract, what properties stay the same, the uncertainty bounds, within what error are they the same, the chain of updates, which receipts show the stability, the coarse graining interface is used, if any. This certificate is public. Anyone can check it. Anyone can try to find a counterexample, an update that breaks the stability. If one is found, the certificate is revoked. The family home example. Imagine a family home. People live there for generations. Walls are painted, roof repaired, rooms added. Is it the same house? Under one definition, the address, the structure, the memories, yes. Under another definition, every brick, every nail, no. Those have been replaced over time. So the same house is a stability pattern under a certain way of looking. The address stays the same. The function stays the same. The location stays the same. Those are the invariants. A stability certificate for the house would list those invariants and show they persist across all the changes. The two kinds of stability. Now we discover something important. There are two ways something can be stable. First, exact stability. Some things do not change at all. Mass might be exactly conserved. A fundamental constant might stay exactly the same. Second, approximate stability. Most things stay the same within uncertainty. Your chair looks the same day to day, but if you measure precisely, it wears down a tiny bit. It is stable within the error of ordinary observation. Both count as objects. But approximate stability must always come with its uncertainty bounds. The tree in the forest example. Imagine a tree in a forest. Over years, it grows. It loses leaves, it gains rings. Is it the same tree? Biologists would say yes. Its DNA is the same. Its location is the same. Its identity as an organism is the same. That is a stability pattern. The invariants are genetic code, root system, continuous life. If the tree falls and becomes timber, is it still the same object? Now it is wood, not a living tree. The equivalence class changed. A new object might begin, the log, but the tree as a living thing is gone. Objects can end. Stability can break. The object registry. Now we have something new, the object registry. It lists every certified object. For each, it records the object name or ID, the equivalence class definition, the stability scope, which transformer families, which domains, the tracked invariants, the uncertainty bounds, the chain of update certificates showing stability, the date of certification, links to any coarse grain interfaces used. This registry is public. Anyone can look up an object. Anyone can challenge its stability with new evidence. The stress test, renaming again. Now we do our stress test again, because it protects against cheating. Suppose we rename everything. Phi goes to phi plus c. Do objects survive? They must. If an object is real, if its stability is based on real structure, then renaming should not change it. The tree is still the tree. The rock is still the rock. If the object disappears under renaming, then it was depending on labels, not on real patterns. That is not allowed. Gate 4 catches this. The fake object example. Imagine a trick. You paint a number on a rock. Then you move the rock. The number moves with it. Someone says, "Look, that number is an object. It stays with the rock." But the number is just paint. It is not a stable pattern in the rock itself. It is an arbitrary label. If you rename everything, if you change all the numbers, the object disappears. It was never real. Gate 4 catches this. Objects must survive renaming. They must be based on structure, not on labels we attach. The predictions. Now we make predictions, not prophecies. Predictions like receipts, things we can check. Prediction 1. Any object must have a stability certificate. No certificate, no object. Prediction 2. Objects depend on the equivalence class definition. Change the definition, and the object may change or disappear. Prediction 3. Objects survive the rename everything test. If they fail, they are not real. Prediction 4. Objects can end. Stability can break. The certificate must record the scope within which stability holds. Prediction 5. Approximate objects must come with uncertainty bounds. If the bounds are missing, the claim is incomplete. These are simple. They can be tested, they can be audited. The failure signatures. Now we list the ways object claims can fail. Each failure produces a refusal certificate that goes into the negative archive. Failure 1. No stability certificate. Someone names an object but does not provide a certificate showing its stability. Refused. Failure 2. Stability broken. A valid update certificate shows the object's invariants changing beyond uncertainty. The object is not stable. Failure 3. Rename failure. The object disappears under phi goes to phi plus c. It was label dependent, not real. Failure 4. Scope missing. Someone claims an object but does not say under which updates, which domains, which transformers it is stable. Refused. Failure 5. Uncertainty missing. An approximate object is claimed without uncertainty bounds. Refused. Failure 6. Equivalence fuzzy. The equivalence class definition is vague. What counts as the same is not clear. Refused. Failure 7. Coarse grain hidden. The object exists only after coarse graining, but the interface is not cited. Refused. Failure 8. Gauge artifact. The object stability depends on a particular coordinate choice. Under different coordinates, it vanishes. Gate 4 catches this. Failure 9. Statistical mirage. The object appears stable only because of lucky observations, but with more data, the stability breaks. Gate 6 catches this. Failure 10. Observer selection. The object exists only because someone chose to see it that way, with no public justification. Reserved for later layers. The ship of Theseus example. There is a famous puzzle called the ship of Theseus. A ship has its planks replaced one by one. After all planks are replaced, is it the same ship? In our world, we answer, it depends on the equivalence class. If you define the ship by its continuous history, the chain of ownership, the name, the function, then yes, it is the same. Those invariants persist. If you define the ship by its original planks, then no, it is not the same. Those planks are gone. Both answers are valid as long as you declare your definition. The object is not in the ship, it is in the stability pattern you choose to track. The mountain example. Imagine a mountain. Over millions of years, it erodes. Its shape changes, its height decreases. Is it the same mountain? Geologists say yes. They define it by location, by rock type, by geological history. Those invariants persist. If you defined it by exact shape, it would be a different mountain every millennium. But no one does that. They choose a definition that matches what they care about. That is what objects are. Choices of what to track, certified by stability. The child's question. Someone asks, so if I name my teddy bear, is it an object? We say yes, if it stays the same through updates. If you lose it and find it again, and it is still your teddy bear within your uncertainty, then it is an object. But if it gets torn and repaired, is it still the same? That depends on your definition. If you track the fabric, some is new. If you track the love and memory, it is the same. You must declare what you mean. So objects are not really in the world? Objects are patterns we notice in the world, patterns that stay stable. They are real, but they are not primitive. They are earned. The main lesson. Let us say it one more time, in the simplest words we can find. A thing is what remains the same across certified change. Not a magical substance, not a little pellet of matter, just a pattern that persists. If something keeps its important properties through many updates, we can call it an object. But we must prove it. We must show the stability. We must say what counts as the same. Objects are not primitives. They are stability certificates. What objects are not? Now we say what objects are not. Objects are not little souls in things. There is no chairness that makes a chair a chair. Objects are not permanent. They can end when stability breaks. Objects are not independent of how we look. They depend on what invariants we track. Objects are not absolute. The same collection of folders might be many different objects under different equivalence classes. The chair at the end. Remember the wooden chair? You painted it, you moved it, it aged, but you still called it the same chair. Why? Because the invariants you cared about, its function, its place in your life, its general shape, stayed the same within your uncertainty. That is a stability pattern. That is what makes it an object. Not a soul in the wood, just a pattern that persists. The object registry at work. Now imagine someone wants to sell you that chair. They say, this is the same chair that has been in my family for generations. You can ask, show me the stability certificate. They show. The equivalence class. Family heirloom, identifiable by unique carvings. The invariants. Those carvings, the wood type, the dimensions. The uncertainty. Carvings can wear but must remain recognizable. The chain. Photos over generations showing the same chair. The scope. Under normal use, not under destruction. That is public evidence. You can check it. You can decide if you accept it. That is how objects become real in our world, not by declaration, by certification. What comes next? Now we have objects. We have a way to talk about things that persist through change. We have stability certificates and an object registry. Next, we will ask, how do objects combine? How do we get complex objects from simple ones? How do we know when an object has truly ended versus when it has just changed? Those are for later parts. For now, we rest here. We have objects as persistent equivalence classes under update chains, not primitive entities, just certified stability patterns. And we built it all from one simple idea. A thing is what remains the same across certified change. That is part 21. That is what an object is. That is our story so far. Always, peace be upon you.